Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mr. K is Wrong, where I look at the memes of some dummy that I used to know in my high school days, who is named Mr. K, and who posts some right wing nonsense on his Facebook wall that I try to debunk. And so far, I think I've successfully debunked everything. So this time, I'll be looking at a right wing meme about Justin Trudeau and how spooky and scary and authoritarian Trudeau is. It's especially ironic and hypocritical when Donald Trump is threatening to invade Canada and other countries and going after student protesters and whatnot. So the meme features Justin Trudeau and says October 2022. Trudeau said, "From today forward, it is no longer legal to buy, sell, or transfer a handgun in Canada." March 2024, Trudeau endorses law that would cage people, potentially even for life, for speech crimes. Slippery slopes come fast. And then the meme has a picture of Justin Trudeau. And the whole thing is about this slippery slope, about how if there are any regulations on handguns or presumably any other sort of gun or maybe weapons generally, that suddenly you're going to have crackdowns on free speech, which you know is ironic considering that Republicans are engaging in crackdowns on free speech as I speak, or they're at least trying to successfully do that. So the meme is misleading and hypocritical in several ways. For one thing, it misrepresents Trudeau's actions on handguns. The October 2022 policy did not criminalize handgun ownership outright. It was a freeze on buying, selling, and transferring handguns, not a confiscation or ban on possession. This was part of broader gun control measures aimed at reducing firearms related violence. The policy had widespread public support in Canada, where gun laws are stricter than in the United States. So, yes, you can criticize that as much as you want, but these are some basic gun control measures, and they do have support in Canada. And, Canada's a different country. So, sure, and like I said, you can comment on that, but it's not a policy in the United States. And in fact, there's another ironic aspect to this. Donald Trump is obviously strongly allied with Saudi Arabia, which has all kinds of restrictions on, you know, different behaviors, not just gun ownership, but you could end up in serious trouble if you were to say, "I am an atheist" in the country of Saudi Arabia, for example. And Donald Trump apparently sees no problem with that. MAGA sees no problem with that, despite the fact that Donald Trump, as part of his kickoff to his, political career, he was trying to seem like he's against Islamic theocrats. Well, then why is he in bed with Saudi Arabia so much? Why did he give them all of those weapons? Why is he engaged in business dealings with Saudi Arabia? Not just, national business dealings, but some of his personal business dealings, including that Jared Kushner freak apparently getting around $2 billion from Saudi Arabia. Yet, they have executed a journalist from the Washington Post called Jamal Khashoggi, and Trump, had no problem with that. An actual journalist being killed by one of his allies. No real concerns about that. But, if Canada wants to regulate handguns, then it's the absolute most tyrannical thing. So there's another flaw. He's exaggerating the speech crimes thing to push a fear narrative about Trudeau and Canada. The March 2024 claim about caging people for speech crimes likely refers to Canada's Online Harms Act, which introduces measures against hate speech and online abuse. While the bill does include stronger penalties for incitement of violence and hate based threats, it does not necessarily criminalize general political speech or dissent. The law is at least stated to combat hate fueled violence and supposedly not suppress free expression. But again, this is really ironic because there's hypocrisy on the whole slippery slopes thing with authoritarianism actually just as easily being found in the Republican Party. So the right wing hypocrisy is glaring when comparing this alarmism to the actions of Donald Trump and his allies. So Trump openly threatens authoritarian actions on a regular basis. He's floated invading Canada over trade disputes. He's talked about bombing Mexico. He, for some reason, wants to take Greenland. And, he's lately come under fire for his attempts to crush student protests with military force or with ICE, whatever you want to say. They're a, a brutal organization, and Trump wants them to be able to do what they want without abiding by the U.S. Constitution. Keep in mind that the head of the Trump immigration efforts, he said that AOC should actually be investigated for reminding people that they actually have rights in this country. That there is a U.S. Constitution that says that you can say no to the the officer at the door if they don't have a search warrant. They need a warrant in order to arrest you. So these aren't slippery slopes, they're direct threats. He was threatening AOC, who, of course, is a prominent politician, and the intention there is to put fear into people's minds, make it so that, they're not going to protest anything anymore. They're not going to have anything to say about, any major issue, and they're just going to go along with whatever kind of crap that the administration does. So it's gone to the point where Trump was trying to say that, if you boycott Tesla, that's illegal, which is, of course, nonsense. It's not illegal to boycott a company. So Trump has called for jailing journalists and suppressing free speech. He's praised dictators for the crackdowns on dissent and suggested using government power to punish his critics. The U.S. right has actively pushed real anti speech laws. Republican led states have passed laws banning discussions on race, gender, and LGBT issues in schools, criminalizing pro Palestine protests, or whatever you want to call them, anti genocide protests, or any number of things. And, he's trying to punish journalists for exposing corruption. So there's a different slippery slope going on here. And, Trump is slipping and sliding all over the place, apparently, because he just can't stay in one place. He's got to be authoritarian in all sorts of different directions. So if the meme creators truly cared about authoritarianism and speech suppression, they would be condemning Trump's rhetoric and the actual anti-speech crackdowns happening in red states in particular. Instead, they cherry pick Canadian policies while ignoring their own movement's direct threats to democracy. And, as one of my buddies says, two standards are better than one. That's really what's on display here.